Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let
Thrive. What's up, Micah, man?
I'm chilling, Stevie Stacks. How you doing?
Oh, doing good. It's getting cold in the DF Dub.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a cold front came through today. So we're getting ready for that winter season over here, man.
So the good thing is we will no longer have to worry about AC problems. We'll now worry about heater problems at all of our places.
Yeah, gas out real quick.
Man, these utility bills are killing us. Anyways, we have a special guest today on this episode 231 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, short-term, midterm, long-term rental podcast in the world, Micah.
Who we got?
Zeona McIntyre. I nailed it. She told me before the show how to say her name. Who? Repeat guest. Micah said she's been on 3 times. I said 2 times, but we'll split the difference. Who is Zeona McIntyre? Well, you probably heard her on BiggerPockets, and I'll read a little bio. She went from $50,000 in debt to financially free within 2 years with Airbnb. Zeona McIntyre has been on Airbnb, an Airbnb host since 2012 after 10 years of managing short-term rentals across the globe. She has transitioned to selling real estate to investors looking to house hack or live for free. She is an avid real estate investor owning a double-digit portfolio of short and midterm rentals. In the fall of 2022, she will release the book 30. She already did release the book. This bio's old. What's going on? 30 Day Stay. I have the book right here, y'all. 30 Day Stay. You got to get this book. And as I trudge through this, okay, the letters got smaller all of a sudden. An investor's guide to mastering the midterm rental, co-authored with Sarah Weaver. She teaches listeners how to achieve financial freedom through real estate on her podcast, Invest2FI, co-hosted with Craig Curlop. She has been featured on BiggerPockets, Mr. Money Mustache, NPR, Business Insider, and more than 50 podcasts. Zeona has been to 47 different countries. She spends half the year in Boulder, Colorado, and the other half traveling the world as an international pet sitter. Welcome to the show, Zeona.
I love that you read the whole thing.
I kept going. I kept scrolling. I was like, damn, how much is this?
Damn, bro. Sorry. I'm just trying to give you options. Like, I've been here a while. I got a lot of stuff to say.
So what everybody wants to know, how is pet sitting?
Pet sitting's awesome. I mean, we're literally going to a pet sit on Saturday, and it's going to be in this, like, we've been there maybe 5 times. Like, we go there for most of our Thanksgivings and Christmases. It's like an hour from here, and it's this crazy lodge on the edge of like a valley. You go in and it's like this huge windows, and it's just like mountains. It's unbelievable. And we stay there for free. We're just watching some doggies,
Where's this?
It's in Estes Park, Colorado.
I knew you were going to say Estes. I love Estes. I just went up 2 years ago. I love Estes. The drive up scary, cool, especially on some edibles, but yeah, I love Estes Park.
Well, I usually skip that part, but that's good.
Yeah, the drive up kind of scary, but yeah, I love Estes Park. It's beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah. And, the book just came out yesterday. So, that's not that old of a bio, okay? Just yesterday.
It's funny because I was messaging past guests, future guests, present guests. I said, hey, send me a book so I can put on my wall of honor over here. And then I sent Zeona a picture today of her book on the wall of honor. I was so proud, this thumbtacks, whatever. And then she's like, you got to read the fucking book. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was part of the deal. I'm reading it. No, but I am going to read this. I'm going to freaking read it every night like the Bible. And because 30 Days Stay, hey, we love midterm rentals here. Micah's been talking midterm rentals for years. He's always saying, fuck Airbnb. And so I'm into it big time, heavy. And we want to pick your brain today and get all the knowledge, from you.
To start it off, how do you advertise your midterm rentals to get the midterm reservations?
Well, I'm gonna piss you off right now because I use Airbnb still, bro. But I also use, Furnished Finder. And now we're getting really into trying to like build relationships to do the contracts, because if you can get direct contracts for doctors or insurance or government contracts, they'll pay you as much as a short-term rental, sometimes more. So that's where it's at, but it takes a little legwork.
Now, how do you set up your Airbnb listing to attract that midterm rental?
Yeah, so I mean, I just put 30 days plus because some of my cities, we can't do anything else, right? So 30 days is like what's legal in town. And then the way that I set it up, so I'm really strategic about it, is like I only open it up about a month at a time. So if I got a tenant coming in, usually they say, hey, I just want to go month to month. I don't know when I'm leaving yet. So then I just leave the calendar blocked. But as soon as they tell me, hey, I'm out in 2 weeks or in a month, I'll open just 5 weeks. And the reason I do that is because I don't want people to just have my calendar and book whenever and give me some awkward 3-week gap that I can't fill anymore. You know what I mean? So I make it that it's not instant book, and I make it so that I can like move the dates around.
Now,
I know, not instant book. Isn't that crazy?
How does your calendar, like, how's your occupancy? Because we've talked about, hey, just make our listing 30 days. But then some people, we kind of get like, what's the occupancy like doing that?
No, we're full. We are full. So literally we can have people come in the same day and leave, like the same day someone leaves. But it's hard on our cleaner because sometimes people stay 6 months. Like very often you get a nurse and then they want to extend, and their contracts are 13 weeks. So then they'll do the whole 6 months deal. And so after 6 months, you don't know what you're walking into. It's like, does somebody move a broom around once or not? So it's hard to have a guest come in a couple hours. So we try to give them a day in between. But yeah, I barely have like a couple days. It's never really empty.
Wow.
Have you ever, on that note, have you ever toyed with like doing monthly or weekly cleanings for the guests?
So what we do, so I'm really into auto messaging because I feel like that's less automation. It's less for us to do. So we've got like a series of messages, and I think it's like day 3, we send them a message with our cleaners info and like the cleaner's wage and, and just kind of say like, we'll just leave this here if you want a cleaner, hint, hint. But I don't want to pay for it,
Right.
So I'm not doing it.
Now, this is another question. So what area are your rentals in for it to be like, you're steady getting like 30-day rentals here, and here? Because I don't know, because I want to try it, but I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'll be messing it up. So what areas does this usually work in?
So this is what I did wrong, but it's because I've been in this field for like 10 years. And so I didn't have this strategy before. So it was like, I had investing ADD. It was like, I would hear about a cool market and like, oh, I'm going to go there. And so now I invest, I have like 4 states, and in some of the states, I'm in like 3 markets in that state. So it's a little messy. What I recommend for people now is pick a state and marry it, or pick an area and marry it. So if you want to diversify, maybe 2 areas, but stay in those areas. So I have medium term in St. Louis still, and then I've got Boulder, Colorado, Denver, Colorado, Colorado Springs, Colorado. And yeah, I've got long-term rentals and short-term rentals in Florida. And then I've got a short-term rental that we do some midterm in Washington State. So it's just like a little random. I know. She random.
Why are you against diversifying like that?
Because now that we're trying to build the contract like relationships, you want to become the guy with like all the units in this one place. So then when they call you up, you're like, oh yeah, I've got 15 units. Like, well, I can help you out, And so for me to call them up and be like, I got one place, that's not as cute. So now I'm like, okay, I'm consolidating a little bit.
I like that strategy. Now who the hell's going to St. Louis for 30 days?
Oh my God. St. Louis is the like busiest market of all of them. It's just my
right
problem with St. Louis is that I can never, so you'll learn this if you invest in different markets or manage in different markets, is that some places you can find really good cleaners and reliable people and all that stuff. St. Louis, man, I've been in that market since 2015 and I'm still struggling with cleaners. So I'm ready to go. I'm cutting my losses. So
Damn.
Yeah, I had 4 places there, and now I just down to 1 because I'm slowly selling them off.
Oh, you should have told me. I would have bought them. I got boots on the ground in St. Louis.
Oh, good. You want to give me some boots? I need a boot. No, I got the best handyman contractor in the world, but cleaners, man, they're killing me. So it just depends.
So now, a quick question on cleaners, just to go into that real quick.
Yeah.
What's your process for hiring them now?
I guess my assistant does most everything now. So what's her process? But basically I try to get somebody who's vetted and referred by somebody. And then we got to make sure that they're available. And I need to make sure that they're doing deep cleans and the pricing's not insane. I think right now you can probably find amazing cleaners, but they're going to kill you on the cost. So it just depends. But yeah, I think the people that I've got out there, they're either not available or they're just really difficult. And I think what's hard is when you're an out-of-state investor, you need that cleaner to be like cleaner plus, right? They need to be your boots on the ground, the eyes. They need to be able to like run to Target for some batteries just in case, like a little extra. And I'll pay them for it. But I've got some people that just won't help. And that I don't like that. That doesn't work for me.
Nice. Yeah, we got a cleaner here that she's actually putting together the latest arbitrage house that we're doing. That we want it to be heavy on the midterm.
She's the right one.
Yeah, so she's the second. This is it's the third place she put together for us. So yeah, so she just has a knack at designs. So it's like, you want to design a place, we'll pay you, and she's doing it all. And of course, probably get a free cleaning out of it, because she's gonna show us the house all set up and pretty. And so yeah, it's definitely you need people like that can do more, right? Like a baseball team, a 3-tool guy, a guy can hit and then catch and then run. You want people with more tools than just one thing, because you're definitely gonna need to call on them one day.
Yeah, and let me just tell Micah a little bit about St. Louis. The reason St. Louis works is because it has a hospital cluster. So you kind of see that certain markets have that, where it's like they're just like hospital row, where they got like 5 hospitals right in that area. And St. Louis has that. So not only do they have some big university hospitals, but they also have just like this cluster in Central West End. Is that what it's called? I think so. And yeah, they just bring so many nurses that even with 4 places, that was constantly full and people were like looking for more units. So it's a good market. I'm done. I've graduated.
So are you actively growing your portfolio right now?
I am, but it depends on what day of the week you ask me that. Sometimes I get tired and I'm like, I'm done. You know what? What I've learned now is like when you have a lot of money coming in or whatever, you could just invest in syndications, right? Like life could just be easier and you could be fully hands off and actually passive. But I'm here for the addiction. I love buying houses. I can't stop. So that's the problem.
Now, so you only buy, you don't arbitrage, right?
I don't arbitrage. I started that way, but even just COVID showed me that like I made like $500K each year just in equity. And I was like, I'm here for the equity. Forget about the arbitrage. But if you guys want another job, you can keep arbitraging.
Yeah.
I love that. You got 500K, and I tell people, man, that is unbeatable. That is unbeatable. Now, are you buying your property straight off the MLS? How are you picking them up? Off market? How are you picking them up?
I am. Like I've bought only one thing off market. People are like, oh, you got to be cute to get a deal. I'm like, no, you got to know how to make a deal, because you can look at something and say, oh, if I'm going to make it a long-term rental, that's not going to work. But if I do midterm, if I do short term, if I do some other crazy stuff, if I rent by the room, now almost anything can be a deal. So my problem is I find too many deals and I'm like, you need to stop buying things.
So you mentioned something real quick, rent by the room. Do you do that?
I don't, but I have, and I think that's like a great strategy when you're super young and you're excited about having roommates still. But I'm kind of past that now. So yeah, rent by the room strategy is basically having roommates. But what works well is that if you can get into a house with very little down, and a lower interest rate because you're owner occupied, then you can just rent out all the rooms and live for free and get cash flow. And people maximize that by renting those rooms medium term or doing short term in those rooms. But I just don't want to live with a lot of people.
No,
I just figured like if you bought a house that you buy a hospital, you would think, oh, this would be a great, rent by the room place, not that you would live in it.
It could. Yeah. I've heard mixed things about that. I've heard that it's actually like there's liability if you're putting people that don't know each other together. I don't know. I did that years ago and had no problem with it. So I think it just depends, but I find it to be too much hassle. And so I'm kind of in this place of like, I like medium term. I like short term. It is a little bit more work, but I still want to keep my work at a minimum. And so when I rent whole units, that feels a lot easier than trying to coordinate all the check in and out of individual rooms and the cleaning and stuff.
Now you said you have to make a deal. Now you making a deal because you're using like midterm and short-term rentals to make the deal. Are you going to markets that are already regulated?
Well, medium term, there's not really a regulation. Like over 30 days is basically what you see, unless you're in certain HOAs where they're like, oh, it has to be 3 months or 6 months. So I avoid those. But basically, once it's 30 days, you're kind of like a long-term rental. So that's great. I think for short-term rental, I'm just doing a little bit less of it now. But basically, I mostly go to markets that don't have regulations for those. Yeah.
Has that came back to bite you at any point?
Not yet. Well, I mean, I guess St. Louis, when I started way back in the day there, they didn't really have their stuff together to have regulations. And so they slowly did add them, but they still don't enforce it. So, what I do is I do medium term most of the time, but if there's like a couple day gap, I might just throw it short term and fill those couple days and keep going. Nobody's saying anything.
Your interview on Bigger Pockets was cool because this is your third time on Bigger Pockets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've seen other iterations of the Bigger Pockets team, the guys interviewed.
Yeah. It's really changed.
You've seen all three different ones, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first one I did had Mindy on there, so it wasn't with Josh, but then I did like episode 300, which was kind of like a recapping bigger episode, and so Josh came for that one. And then this last one, it was Dave and Rob.
Rob. Yeah. That's cool. It even piqued his interest in the midterm because he's mostly short term, right?
He's got one. One midterm. Everybody's kind of sneaking into the space.
I know what's up with that. They're gonna ruin it like they did short term rentals. No, anyways, so that's what I was. The one thing, because like I said, they're not really into it too big like you are. But the one thing I was like, they didn't press you on is how to fill those gaps. You mentioned it briefly, but I want to know the art of filling those gaps, because those gaps can hurt, man.
Yeah. Well, so like I had said, I only open the calendar about 5 weeks, and in my booking or in my ad, people don't really read it, but I put it in there and say, hey, we're open month to month, but I'm just opening my calendar a little bit. So I'm hoping that someone's just searching for the beginning of their stay and not searching for like 3 or 6 months, which I think people know better than to do that because they're not going to find that much availability. So if they find my place for that like month, then we can talk. So what I found with people that are doing longer stays is they're usually driving out. And so they're flexible. If you tell them, hey, I'm actually available this day, would you want to come a day early and like check out the city or whatever? Sometimes they'll work with you. And I've even had people stay in a hotel for a couple days so that they could stay in my place. And they were just like filling in that gap that I wasn't available because they just want to stay in my place. So if you have a really nice product, if you're coming into it like a short-term rental operator, making it cool, people will look for you and make an effort to be in your place.
And then they'll try to, you want them to end their lease. You don't want them to end their lease on the 15th or something like that. How do you encourage them to like end it on either the 1st or the 30th, or what do you do with that?
Oh, no, I've got people ending on the 8th and the 22nd and the 4th. Yeah, you just do whatever. It doesn't matter. People move whenever in this space.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, if there's any creative ways like to fill the gaps or to get people to pay for the gaps. Say, hey, listen, I know you're coming on the 8th. We rent only by the month. I'll give you a discount on that 8-day gap or something like that. I don't know, just to close it a little. You don't do anything like that?
Yeah, but I rarely find people that are like, I'm coming on the 31st or the 1st. Like they don't look at it like that. It's just not the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was my biggest question after watching the show. It was a good show. You dropped some gems on there.
Thanks.
One thing I noticed you said you are primarily on Airbnb, and I know you said you're trying to get into government contracts, things of that nature. I'm also trying to get into that. What are some things? Are you doing anything to grow your business's brand?
No, I don't know. I actually don't care about that part. I mean, I have my own brand, right? So I've got like a website. So if we need to show them like, oh, I'm legit and I'm not just like some random person from the internet, then like I have something to send them to. So that feels fine. But yeah, I'm not really in the direct booking space in that way. Like I don't want them to book on my website. I still want us to intervene and be able to like negotiate and stuff like that. So when people do their own website, it's just a little bit too random for me. I used to have that set up. I don't like it.
Gotcha. In your case, you are the brand. That's what I love about you. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that.
So what percentage of your bookings comes from Furnished Finder?
That's interesting. I think it depends on the market. So in Boulder, we're like much more tech heavy. So I actually don't have as many nurses that come through here. And so we get a lot of people for like, we have like a Google campus, and we've got scientists that come in for the different like centers that we have here, research centers, and people for the university and whatever. So yeah, a lot of it comes through Airbnb for us there. But then something like St. Louis is like all Furnished Finder. So it really just depends on what your area is.
Okay. That being said, do you have any like Furnished Finder hacks, how to use the site better to attract guests and stuff like that? Or just any hacks? Yes.
I feel like everybody uses Furnished Finder wrong. Like I didn't know that. And so I was like, oh my God, everyone's not doing it right. But basically people are planning for it to be like Airbnb. They're like waiting for a booking to come in. And like, that's not how it works. People can tell you, hey, I'm interested in your property. But for the most part, you get a list of, you were distracting me with your cute child. Hi, child.
Sorry about that. It's Abby just made an appearance. Poor thing.
I love it.
Under the weather.
Yeah. So you get a list of matched leads is what they call it, and then unmatched leads. And they might unmatch because it's like not the right price point, or maybe they want 1 bedroom when you have 2 bedrooms or whatever. So what we do is we have a template and we shoot it to everyone. Matched, unmatched, we're reaching out to people. So you have to be proactive in that sense. Now, if you want to go a step further, if you're trying to go after contracts like Micah is, and I know he's taking notes, if you're going to go after contracts, you actually want, and you can have a VA or an assistant do this, but you want to call each of these people and you want to find out, hey, who's your recruiter? What agency is placing you? And try to get back to that person. Because if you can get back to that person, they're going to be placing more people, and so then you can get a direct connection there.
Now, okay. Now you said something, you said template. What's your template?
Yeah, I can send it to you. And I don't know how you could get it to other people, but they can DM me for it. But basically what's important in it, it's just like a easy, hey, I found you in my tenant leads and I wanted to see if our places would work for you. So here's one hack is that if you've got 4 places in one town, you just have 1 Furnished Finder listing. You don't need to have all 4. And the reason is because they're sending you all the tenants, right? So then you take that and you put it in your template, and your template has your 4 Airbnb listings. And the reason they don't need to book on Airbnb, but when people get that, even if they have already found a place to stay, they're going to click on the listings because people love those links and they're curious and they want to look at pictures. And you need that for your SEO. It helps. And so even if that person doesn't book you, now you might get booked on Airbnb because you had all these people clicking your link. You're showing up higher and you're more likely to get booked. So that's the important part. And then in there, we just say the couple of things like deposits $1,000, cleaning fees X amount. We don't accept pets, or if you do, and it's just like little bullet points. So it's pretty simple. Oh, and I'm a real estate agent. So I say, hey, if you're moving to the area, let me buy you, like you can be our client. And I've gotten a lot of clients that way. So it's dope.
Wow.
Love that.
That is awesome. So you mentioned real quick, you dropped some awesome knowledge right there, but you mentioned pets. And so I know it's very lucrative, but do you allow pets at all your places? I know.
I don't like pets. I mean, I love pets. Like, as someone who does pet sitting, I'm like, ooh, I love pets, but I don't trust people with their pets, you know? And actually, of all my units, I have one guy right now who's a divorcee, and he's got a hypoallergenic dog with, like, they don't shed, you know, they're the little curly hairs. So I was like, okay, you can have your dog. Plus, you're going through a divorce. You need that emotional support, you know?
His house.
So he's okay. But for the most part, no, because they shed, it like messes up your couch. And then especially with traveling nurses, they're at the hospital like 12 hours a day. That animal is freaking out and they are messing up your shit.
That is a good point. I had that happened at one of the places we had a travel nurse there. And so her dog was just freaking out all day. And then the HOA, the lady that ran the HOAs next door, you know, sending a bunch of emails and texts, and everybody's freak. I'm like, holy crap. I didn't even think about that. They're gone all day at work. And so this thing, if it freaks out, it just goes crazy all day.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've not had any problems with traveling nurses except for ones with pets. So cut it out. But, you know, a lot of people like to keep it because they think that it brings more tenants in. And so if you feel like you're not getting enough, do it, but then have a pet fee and a pet deposit. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Pet rent, baby.
That's right.
$100
they'll do it.
Hell yeah, they'll pay that. Man, so you wrote a book? It's like, we go back to the book. How the hell do you get a book on BiggerPockets? That's like a huge deal, man.
Thank you. It's so weird because it was BiggerPockets Conference 2021. And I was like, I want to write a book for BiggerPockets, but I have no idea what I'm going to write. And I was like, they've already done all the books. It's done. I don't know what else they haven't written about. And then I got the idea and I was like, man, medium term, is that like big enough? Like, will anybody really read this, you know? But I'll pitch it. Let me just see. But, you know, last year was so different than this year. And so when we were pitching it to them, they were very much like, well, you know, we did a lot of market research. Like, there's nobody searching for these terms. It's like the keywords are not coming up high, but we believe that it could be something. And it now is crazy pants. So I'm so glad that we did it. But yeah, at the time, I had no idea if it was going to work.
That is cool. Yeah. So how do you sit down and write a book?
Ooh. You just time block it. It's you know, I think it's like a spiritual, personal growth, like experience to write a book, because when you're sitting down there, like some days you're flowing and it's great. And then other days, like all your demons are there with you. You know, they're like, nobody's going to read this. Like, who do you think you are? It's not very good. Your writing sucks. Like, and you're still there and you're doing it. So you're just like trudging through the mud. And I think it's a cool growing experience to do that.
Just put in the reps, right? So, okay. So you do background checks and credit checks on all your clients, all your guests.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Are you
reading
the book as we talk?
Terrible transitioner. Sorry. These are my questions. These are from the book because I haven't read it yet. I will read it. Can you do it? Can you read it for me and record it, and then I can play it in my earphones?
Yeah, it's called Audible, bro. Just buy
it there. Oh, we got to cut that out of the show. We got to play that.
No, that was pure.
I mean, yeah. Audio, bro. Damn, put me in my place. I want to hear you read it. I don't want to hear some stranger read it.
I know. Okay, so we had a real fight with BiggerPockets about that. We had to audition, and they were like,
for your own book. For your own book.
Yeah, it's because I guess there's professionals that they know how to do the recording without making too many sounds. You like make mouth sounds and you swallow and all this stuff that has to be edited out.
Do you do the
I don't know
in the book?
Yeah, I was mouth breathing, and they were just like, not you. But I really think like people connect with the author, especially because in the book we do a lot of like personal stories and case studies, and I'm like, that is so much more fun when it's you. So I think it's a big mess.
It is better to read a book when you know the author. Because now when I read your book, because I'm going to get your book, I can
do it.
Like I read Julie George's book and I read Mark Simpson's book. When I'm reading Julie's book, she'll like at the beginning part, she's telling a story, but I'm reading it in her voice. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's a good skill.
Yeah. So,
and so then I got captured by a kangaroo. That's how she read. That's how she read her book. I don't even know if that's Australian. Shrimp on a barbie. That through the whole book. That's all it is.
So yeah, it is cool knowing an author because now I can read your book and I can read it in your voice.
I love that.
It is funny that you did say about getting a professional book reader. I guess that's what they're called. I don't know. Someone to read the books because I've heard some great audible readers, and I'm like, wow, this book is really interesting. It tells a story, you know what I'm saying? And then I heard a book where the author read his own book, and it was a great book, good to great. I love that book. But it seemed like he was so passionate about his own material, and it just like a little too much, You could have had a professional read it. I don't know. It was weird. I know, but it's his own stuff, so he really puts emphasis on the words that he meant to have emphasis and stuff like that. So it kind of, yeah.
I don't know. I actually like it better when I know it's the author reading it. That's what I'll go for. Otherwise, I'll just read it myself because I think they sound robotic sometimes, and I'm like, I can't get down with that. I can't follow this. Boring. So I don't know. Get the Audible. Let me know what you think.
Oh Lord, so many questions for you.
Well, you can go back to that question that was just awkwardly transitioned. I'm happy to answer it now.
It's on my list. I can't even read my own handwriting. Zeona. Sorry. I was just talking about screening and doing background checks. You do that for every single guest that comes through.
Well, so one thing to know is that traveling nurses and medical professionals, they're highly background checked because they're not trying to bring in any criminals or crazies into their hospital, that's liability for them. So if I can get proof that they have a work contract, then I don't need to background check them. I feel good about that. And then on Airbnb, I'm not background checking. So it's only when it's somebody from Furnished Finder that's from something else. So sometimes people on Furnished Finder are students, or they're doing a renovation in their home or something like that, and they need a place for a little while.
I do have this question. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I just said, who do you use for your screenings?
Well, we have everything on Avail now, so I think Avail does screening. Honestly, my assistant's doing it all. We used to do apartments.com, and we moved to Avail, and it's all free.
Okay.
So, the screenings we make the tenants pay for, and I think it's probably $30-$40, right?
Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say, Micah?
Man, I completely lost my. It'll come back.
All right. So you list on, of course, Furnished Finder, and he talks about trying to get the direct contracts. Is there anywhere else other people might not have heard of? I mean, Facebook Marketplace. Do you list on there? Do you list on Craigslist?
No, I mean, so yes, that works. Right. But the further
you get crazy
away
people on Facebook
Marketplace. That's the thing crazy. Is you get on Craigslist, you get on Facebook Marketplace, it's a little bit crazy. What other people do is they'll post, there's tons of travel nurse groups on Facebook, and you can get in there, but I find it to be a heavy lift. I'm I don't want to get in there and post, and then it gets buried, and then you got to find, I don't know, too much work. So I try to go with the ease.
I noticed that about you. Just the easy way, you're still making money. What's up with that? Why make it hard, right?
This is what I was going to ask you, because you said you do the midterm stays on Airbnb. So you let people book for 30 plus days on Airbnb?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So have you ran into the issue where, hey, it's 30 plus days and Airbnb only sends you a chunk of what they're supposed to pay out? Have you ran into the issue where the guest doesn't pay the remainder? And how You haven't? Okay.
No, because Airbnb makes them pay up front. So they have to pay the first 30 days up front, and then they make them pay the next 30 days up front, but it's a little bit ahead of when you get paid. And so they're not staying. There's no extra staying if they haven't paid.
I always get the email. They
have. What do you mean?
So if they haven't paid,
it's just wherever your shiesty ass places are, man.
This is shiesty ass Airbnb. They don't pay up front.
Interesting. I thought they did.
You can swipe a card for 60 days and they'll only take 30 days out. So then they have to keep that card on file. But if that card goes bad, Airbnb will send you a message and say, hey, this person didn't pay the rest of the stay. So you haven't.
Yeah. And so you got to let them out. Is that what they're saying? cut them loose.
I was wondering, how have you ran into that issue, and you haven't ran into it? Oh, yeah.
No, I haven't. I have had ones where it's like somebody books and then like within the first 15 minutes, they're like, ooh, there's an issue with the payment. But we usually resolve it. It's like way before they actually get in.
Payment. Yeah, they're already booked. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's sketchy. Yeah, I don't like that.
Zeona gets her money, yo.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and the contracts, when you do those, they pay the whole thing up front, which is kind of wild. They're just like, here's a check for $20,000. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Don't spend it all in one place. Like, I'm dangerous with that kind of money. I'm gonna go get another property. You know?
I know that happened to me one time out down in Houston. This company out in Rosenberg, Texas, or something. They're just like, "Oh, we'll just send you a check," and I'm like, I'm gonna need it before, because it got kind of sketchy. And they actually mailed me a check. I was like, "Man, it's $10,000 check." I was like, "Damn." Okay.
Let's make sure it cashes, but okay.
I went through cash. I was like, "Cool, you're good to go. Here's the information." So yeah,
next day making it rain.
Yeah, contracts are the best.
So what do travel nurses like, corporate travelers like? How do you set up a house specifically for them?
Yeah, so blackout blinds are important because you find that a lot of them are night workers. So they have to sleep during the day. So whatever you can do to make that easier. If you've got like a loud place, like you're a little more urban, you might want to have a sound machine in there. It's cheap stuff just that you can have. I've been debating if it makes sense to have like, like stand-up desks and kind of like monitors in certain properties, like the ones here in Boulder that are a little more like tech. So I haven't done it. I try to make every place have a desk so somebody could work and they're not just working at like the dining table, but I haven't like really got it all like tricked out. So I might at a certain point, but they still rent. So I'm not sure.
It ain't broke, don't
like, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It sounds like you don't overthink things too much.
No, I think what's really important for us is we make our places super cute. So I spend a little more and I've got somebody who helps me, and we make them really stylish so that like the pictures stand out and they're fun and we get professional photos. And that's important to me. I've been thinking about starting to put like, what are those called? Like murals in my properties so that they stand out a lot, just kind of like short-term rentals, just to make them fun. Because I think in the past, there was just like no places to stay, and people are staying in dark basements and like ugly granny rooms and stuff. And so I just like want to give them something nice.
That was my old company, dark basements and granny rooms. That was my
exactly.
That's how I started. So well.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I started, I was a college student, so my shit was messed up. it was like really minimalist and just like funky mismatch from Craigslist. I mean, I've come a long way.
I think Micah told it, because you said you want to make it, maybe put a mural, make it look, like really cool. But I think Micah, you said it one time, you go, don't go too crazy with the style if it's for longer, mid to long term. And then, but if it's a short term rental, make the eye catching style, because they're gonna have to live with that every day after every day. I don't know if you told me that, Micah, but someone told me that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. But yeah, I think nowadays with how Airbnb's algorithm is, you definitely want to make something that stands out nowadays. Because man, it's just, they're always changing something too. So, you got to always try to keep up with that algorithm. But yeah, I don't know. I might have said that.
Maybe Zeona on a cloud with a harp, playing a harp and a smile.
I know. I was making a joke with a friend the other day. I was like, I should have these like artsy shots of myself in each one of my apartments. Nobody has to know it's me, right? It's just like, it looks like artsy. And then one day I come to like fix something and they're like, oh, that's you. That's awkward.
I know you.
Everyone's kind of changed their strategy when they first started. You gotta have to go.
Oh yeah.
I remember when Steve first started, he wanted me over to start. And he had his beds on the floor. He didn't even have bed frames. I was like, Steve, you gotta have bed frames.
All right. That's a whole new level. I know. I see. I'm like, I'm helping people with their places often, and they send it to me and I'm like, okay, I see what your problem is. It's like real obvious. Here we go. So yeah.
He goes, you need bed frames? I'm like, yeah, man, you don't have to be Beds on the
Buy a
floor.
bed frame. You put the box spring, and then that's what the bed frame is, right? The box spring.
I love that.
I guess that was back when the home decor was doing this bed on the floor thing. It looks cute in the magazines, right? Puts these like these things in the bottom and puts
Asian
the mattress.
design.
But man,
Sure.
getting up from the bed is hard because you got to roll off the bed and and get on your knees and then roll. And I don't know. It's getting off the rails now. Sorry.
There were no
So
rails
burning.
on the bed.
Hey, but don't do. We always say it on the show. Don't do canopy beds because those they shake those things loose. You know what I'm saying?
I've never had one of those. No.
Don't do it.
Do it.
They look pretty, but yeah, all those screws be popping out and everything.
A lot for me to process right now. Right.
And then we don't have a key for the handcuffs. So what do you do? What do you do, Zane?
Yeah, that's true.
So Burning Man. You still go to
Okay.
Burning Man every year?
I do. Yeah. We
Yeah.
went this year. It was my 5th year in a row. Well, I mean, Burning Man had a couple years off. So 5th year that you could go to Burning Man.
Did you go to the one where the dude ran into the fire?
I did.
Did you see it happen?
I didn't see it happen. I'm glad. I had some friends who saw it happen. It seemed pretty scarring. Usually someone dies at Burning Man every year because it's a lot of people. It's like 80,000 people, so it's just like a city. Sometimes things just happen. But I think this last year, nobody died. Yeah,
So
that one's like a little more deliberate when you actually run into the fire. That's rough.
Yeah, he took it literal, didn't he?
Yeah.
So low season, how do you handle slow? Is there a slow season in this kind of industry, this midterm rental industry?
Yeah, I'd say it's still seasonal, right? So what changes for us is just basically the pricing. So that's what I love too, is that if you're not using Airbnb and you're just on Furnished Finder, the mistake I see a lot of people do is they set a price for the year. And they're like, oh, I'm $2,500 all year. And you're like, okay, but you're missing out. So the reason I also use Airbnb is because you can use pricing software with it. And so that was the way that I learned, oh, this is still seasonal because I have a property where it's normally like $2,500 for a 1-bedroom. And then in June, I was getting like $3,000, $3,500. And then in July, I got like $4,000. I was like, okay, that's awesome. But yeah, there are times where you have higher demand than other times, but it only takes one. That's what I like to remember.
What pricing software are you using?
I am still at Beyond Pricing, but I do not recommend it. I think people need to do Price Labs. They have me stuck in a contract, so that's what is happening.
Oh, they have you stuck in. Oh, okay. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm not happy about it.
I use Beyond Pricing and Price Labs, but I like
use both.
Mhm.
Why both?
Well, for different. So I have my timeshares are all Beyond Pricing, and then my properties that I own in arbitrage are all Price Labs.
Amazing. You're still doing the timeshares. I love that worked out. I thought I might pivot that way and I just couldn't figure it out. So great job.
Yeah, I'm going to have to change some things because they suspended all 500 of my listings yesterday, a couple days ago. So yeah, I'm going to have to change up some stuff.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So how was it being on Bigger Pockets? Did I already ask you that? Was it
No, you didn't.
Was it is it nerve-wracking? You seem pretty even keel person.
Is
it really?
So that's interesting. Like I'm actually afraid of public speaking. And so when I first got started doing podcasts, I was nervous. And now I have a podcast. And for the most part, I'm not nervous. But when I had to do this last Bigger Pockets, I just knew like how much it meant just because there's so many people that watch it. I feel like I wasn't as good because it wasn't as like calm. So yes,
I thought you
still
did great.
Nervous. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you always do good on podcasts.
Thanks, guys.
Just on podcasts.
I know. Well, so in person, it's even scarier. And that's something I'm trying to get better at is like just speaking a lot. Oh man, I'm coming a long way, but man,
Just
it's
get
scary.
on the mic. Just get on the mic and just go, like a lot. A lot. That'll just
You gonna join Toastmasters?
I know. I've like gone and like flirted with the idea. I've gone to like a session or two, but I should go to Toastmasters. I know.
My wife does it, and she like really broke out doing it, like killing it. So yeah, it definitely.
I love it. It works. Yeah.
One thing you mentioned in your book, I browsed. Oh, I read the back cover. Is tax is no tax. You don't get hit with the taxes when you do midterm rentals. Explain that for us, please.
Okay, so there is usually, it's all different by area. And so the only place that this is not true, I've learned this since writing the book, is that Florida, if it's under 6 months, they consider it a short-term rental. And that's the only state that I've heard of that does that. So they charge a state tax, and then depending on the county, they may also charge a county tax. And I hate that. So I have 5 units in Central Florida, and I really want to make them midterm rentals, and I'm just like, I don't want to pay taxes. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. But basically there's always like a tax for shorter stays. It's kind of like a hotel tax essentially. So Airbnb in a lot of places has gotten really good at that. They collect it and they remit it for you. You don't really have to deal with it. But yeah, so once it's 30 days, you don't have to pay that tax. So even if you're in that same town that they would be collecting tax for under 30 days, it's just depending on how long the stay is. And so they charge the guest that tax, but it takes it out of what you could be otherwise charging the guest. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. That's a big reason to try to transition to midterm rentals, because they do get you. Because man, some cities is like 9%, and then the state wants another 6%. I'm like, God, dog. So if
Yes.
if you just did a midterm rental, you'd probably be even making more money than doing a short-term rental in some cases.
Well, and then you might also have to have a short-term rental permit, which costs money, right? And so as a long-term rental, often it's like Boulder, for example, the short-term rental permit is like 2 years or 1 year or something. And then in their long-term, it's like 4 years. Like they don't even care about you, you know, just give us your permit and know that you're legal. And then that's it. And a lot of places don't even have anything for a long-term rental. So that is kind of that other reason why I'm leaving St. Louis, is like, they just have a lot of rules and I don't like that. They like technically want to know every time you turn over a tenant, and that's too often for me. So I just don't tell them, you know, they're just things that I don't want to deal with. So it's like, I want to be as in the right as I can. And so I try to move to markets where they just don't ask a lot of questions.
What's the market that you're looking at right now?
I'm really bullish on Omaha. Yeah, Omaha has one of the top 9 hospitals for traveling nurses, and they have no rental restrictions. So you can do short term, medium term. And I like that because I like that hybrid model of like really doing a bunch of short term in the high season and just like getting that money. And then in the slower season, just fill in with the medium term, because otherwise you just be booking weekends and you're not even really covering your bases. So I like the mix.
That's a new one, Omaha. Never heard about that one.
I know. Out in the bushes, you know, those are the good ones. Where you can still get a quad for like what, 400 or 500K. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh snap! So it doesn't scare you at all to go into a market that has 0 regulations, as opposed to one that already has something in place. You know what I'm saying? So in case like all of a sudden, you know, people follow you to Omaha, and then hey, all the people get up and let's ban Airbnb or whatever. You don't get scared about that?
Yeah, because I don't like tie my hitch to short-term rental anymore. If I was saying like, ooh, I can only do short-term rental and this deal will not work, then I would be worried. But in Omaha, the numbers are so good that you could almost just buy long-term. I mean, I think you can. If you find the right deal, like you can still make it cash flow long-term. So if you're doing short-term and mid-term, it's like crazy. It's bananas. So I think it's fine.
I love that strategy. And that's a strategy I'm bullish on too. Like, hey, let's make sure it works long-term. If it works long-term, everything else is that's just icing on the cake, because that's where it is. I'm fully agree with that strategy.
Oh yeah. I wonder what month the Warren Buffett has the annual stockholders meeting. I heard it's like huge, that people like all over the world go to that thing.
There you go. That's some of your renters. I know. When is that? I feel like it's November, but I could be so wrong. I remember having a bunch of friends that wanted to go. I haven't been yet.
You own stock in Buffett's company?
I mean, probably. I'm at like BTSAX. Don't they have like the entire stock market? So maybe.
Love BTSAX. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. So what makes so you're always shopping because you're addicted to shopping for houses, right?
Yeah.
So what makes
I'm a realtor, so that's like, it feeds the addiction. It's bad move.
Straight to the vein right there.
Yeah.
So what is the criteria you look for something that's gonna make a good or great midterm rental?
Yeah, so my favorites now are 2 to 4 unit. Like I like small multifamily, and I like it because you're paying the utilities. So if you can have like one lawn and one roof and all that, it just makes it a little bit easier. The other thing that I do, because I'm in different markets, like in Colorado, a multi-unit is like $2 million. You know, it's like, I'm not there yet. I'm not buying those. So what I do here is I pick up condos. So condos are one of those things that people avoid as real estate investors, especially the 1-bedroom condo. So 1-bedroom condo, a lot of people won't buy that because if they have enough money to buy, they want a 2-bedroom so they can have like an office or a guest room, you know? So the 1-bedrooms are often overlooked, and I feel like you can really get good deals on them. So I like a 1-bedroom condo, and I like the ones that have shared utilities. So they don't have their own furnace or water heater. It's like part of the building. So then that shit doesn't break and cost you a lot of money. And then I like the ones even that don't have their own washer and dryer. And a lot of people avoid those too. But a medium-term renter doesn't care. They'll have a washer and dryer in the building, not like, you know, down the street, but it's the only things that can break are my kitchen appliances. So my like overhead and maintenance is like so low.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I thought they all needed washers and dryers. I always assumed that.
I mean, they have access to one. It's just like down the hall. It's not mine. I don't have to deal with it. Yeah. What I like about condos though is like if you have that kind of setup, I don't estimate for capex. What I do is I just have my maintenance, which is like 5%, and capex would usually be another 5%. But I'm saying that, hey, my HOA fee is the capex because that's covering all those shared things. So it's nice. It makes it a little easier.
You just made me so happy, Zeona, because we're actually closing on a 1-bedroom condo at the moment.
And they're dope.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's over there. It's here in Dallas. And the thing about it was cool. We talked about arbitrage a little bit, not in glowing terms earlier. But what's cool about arbitraging, because we were arbitraging this place first. And so we got to know the owner, and then we're buying it directly from the owner and getting a good deal. You know what I'm saying? So we got to test drive it. And we're like, holy crap, this thing's making us like $3 or $4 grand a month. 1-bedroom condo, who would have thought? She says, I'm going to sell it. Yeah, hell yeah, we're going to buy it from you. So it gets your foot in the door, you know, you get a relationship with the person you're arbitraging from, and then you can buy it if you can see if it's making good money. It made better money than like a couple of our houses that we have. Holy smokes. So yeah, 1-bedroom condos. I'm all for it.
No, arbitrage definitely has a place. And like there are people like we talked about Rafa before. He's got another podcast, The Big Break Show, and he does mostly arbitrage. And so for him, he had talked about getting a nurse contract, you know, doing a direct through the hospital or through a recruiter, and then saying, I don't even have this place, but I'm going to go find it. Right. So he'll just go arbitrage it. And when he has a contract in hand, he's not showing up like some schlump saying like, I want to Airbnb your place. He's saying, you know, I'm a professional. I've got contracts with the hospital. This is going to be a doctor. You know, we're going to use your place for these like things. And you just seem like people want to say yes to that. Like, okay, this guy's above the board. This is what he's doing. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Rafa's the man.
Yeah, Rafa's killing it.
So what kind of supplies do you leave for the guests? Like as far as you want to encourage them to keep the house clean a little bit, right?
Yeah. So it's all the same things as a short-term rental, but what you can do is you can ration it if you'd like. I tell people to do this. We don't always do it because it's a little more work for the cleaners, but like you technically could just start them out with 2 rolls of toilet paper per bathroom, a roll of like paper towels, like 1 dishwasher pod, 1 laundry pod, you know, like you can be real simple and then just say, and we say everywhere, like we're getting you started. If it runs out, it's your responsibility. And what's cool is that people are there so long, they leave a lot of stuff. So it's very rare that we actually have to buy supplies because people are a little more, it's like more of a partnership. Like if you've got a short-term rental, they are not going to get you batteries. But if somebody's been living there for 2 months, they'll go to the store. They're like, oh yeah, cool. You know, this is my place and this is my remote and I'm going to go get some batteries. It's different.
And they don't like to be bothered. What I've noticed, you know, like travel nurses and stuff like, does somebody really have to come over? I mean, I could do it. You know, they don't want to be, there's like you said, it's their space. It takes 3, by the way, travel nurses to change a light bulb. If anybody's wondering.
Quick question for you, Zeona. You said capex. Do you use profit first for your business?
I don't.
You don't?
I've heard of it. I know, I probably should. There's so many things, you know, you call me an expert, but I don't have all the answers. I'm still a human.
No, I
Are you?
capex. I was like, a lot of people in the short-term rental space don't even have a capex account, you know, and because you said capex at 5%, I was like, most people don't have that. That's why I thought you used profit first. But yeah, I just opened.
No, it's the way I run my numbers. When I'm first analyzing a deal, I want to have capex in it. So even though like what I do for my properties is like I get it to a certain point. So I'll have an account for like with 10 grand in it. And then once it's over 10 grand, then I'll just like take the money out on my own. So I just have like a rule of thumb depending on the property. And then if we have an expense and it goes below that, then I just let it fill itself back up. And then I only take off the top. So it's not like a perfect science, but I want to know when I'm running my numbers, is there enough meat on the bone?
Love it. That's the good thing about running it. It's a long-term rental. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Speaking of capex, utility cap. You see what I did there? You see how I did cap to cap? Anyways.
No, I'm still trying to figure it out.
We've been floating this around only because Texas, well, not everywhere in the world, energy is, double now. And it costs, the utilities are freaking crazy. If you have a place where, if you're in a place where it all shared, it's wonderful. But if you're in a house that they're just putting it on 50 degrees every day in summertime, it can hurt. So I know the answer because I know the answer. Do you ever put like a utility cap? Say if you spend over $100 a month, you're gonna have to pay out of pocket for the utilities.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't. I had one tenant ever that I started noticing it was like high, and I just like talked to him about it, and he's like, "Okay, I'll watch it." So I think like if it gets excessive, I'll reach out to somebody and be like, "Hey, like I'm gonna have to make you pay if it goes over this." But again, those properties that I find that have like shared, like they'll have like a boiler in the building and stuff, and it's all shared. Like they are the lowest utilities ever because all I'm paying for is electrical and Wi-Fi. It's cheap.
See that the condo we're getting into, right, that we're closing on. It's so cool because they have a HOA, of course, and they have your HOA fee, but rolled into the HOA fee itself is all the utilities. So they can spend as much on energy on electric or whatever as they want, and it's not going to cost us 1 penny more. So it's cool.
I love the places that have Wi-Fi that they're doing now in all the buildings. That's like kind of a newer thing. I don't see it too often, but like for some new builds, I see it, and I'm like, that's brilliant. Why do we all have to have our own when like you look on the Wi-Fi and there's like 50 of them? It's like, come on.
Why do we have to hack our neighbors? You know what I'm saying?
It's like, Comcast is just killing it.
So you said something, actually. You said, both of you guys are saying, so if like all your utilities are rolled into the HOA, Wi-Fi, all that, do you guys do a background check on the HOA to like make sure they have a reserve amount? Because let's say that stuff runs out. Now that, HOA fees got to go up. How do you guys how do you take that into account?
Yeah. So at the time that you're buying, you get like the HOA docs. And so you get a series of HOA minutes, which they usually do a monthly meeting. And so it'll talk about anything coming up. And so in those minutes, I scan through to see if there's anything sketchy, like we're outlawing short-term rentals or, anything like that. But usually that all is fine. And it just kind of shows you. And then you can see the budgets over the years. But there's something called a reserve study, which they have a company, like a third party, come in and say, this is all the expenses for the next 20 years that we estimate and what they'll cost over the years with inflation and everything. And you have X amount based on what you're going to need. And so you want them to be at least 35% funded. That's like the safe number. And then from there, you can kind of say like, maybe they had this problem. Do I feel good about it or not? Like, then you just decide. But that's kind of the rule.
See, Zeona's strategy is a little bit different than mine. I just, asked the neighbor, "Hey, bro, is the HOA good?" He said, "Yeah, sure." Okay,
it's
cool.
Not gonna work. Oh my God! So we live in a townhome in Boulder, and it's like we have to do a big siding project, and it's like $1 million. Like, I mean, it can look like, oh, it's cool, we got all this money in the account, and then you don't. So you gotta like feel like they're managing it well. But yeah, I'm one of the places I own 2 condos in one building, and the HOA president like she does so much stuff for free. She's retired and she's like in the laundry, cleaning it up and doing all these things. I'm like, that is a well-run place. Like she's just taking care of shit. So you want those places where people like really care.
Pride and ownership.
Right.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
right.
That's right. So what's in it? Okay, you've gone from short-term rentals, right? Then you've gone to midterm rentals. What's next? Long-term rentals?
Maybe. I mean, I have a couple. I thought for a while there that I was like only going to buy new construction and long-term and like start to transition there, because I was like, okay, new construction they're not going to ask me for anything for like 10 years, that's great. But I am maybe a little bit of a control freak, and I started having property managers on the long terms, and man, they're just slow. There's like all this vacancy in between, and they don't advertise right away. Like after being a property manager myself for so long, it's just a little painful to watch, even if you get to be hands off. So I think the next move would really be syndications if I can ever get away from owning, but I just like it. They're like my little tinker projects. All my babies.
That's cool. You don't have to go to syndication. Everybody,
I might. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, you could. I know people kill it in that, but cool. Well, I think we've asked you a shit ton of questions.
Wait. This is what's next. So this is what I'm like really passionate about right now.
Midterms. Sorry.
Smids. No. Creative financing, I think, is what's next right now. So I've been learning a lot about subject to and seller financing. And so I'm excited about that. I'm doing it a lot for my clients, but also for myself, that I'm excited about moving into that space, because as a seller, it allows you to just make a monthly income because of your equity in your home. And so it's kind of like still getting that cash flow without actually having to manage or, find tenants, keep the property up at all. That's awesome. But also as a buyer, you don't have to qualify for a loan. You can take over a loan that is like 3%. Like when things are 8 to 10% and they could go higher than that, like this is where we need to go. So even stuff that's on market, if it's been on market 2 months, I'm calling them up and I'm saying, hey, you're going to take some terms. What are we going to do? So I think it's a really cool space.
You're so gangster. Hey, what are we gonna do with this, huh? 10 months? What the? Sorry.
Yeah. I like it.
Cool.
Thank you.
You need to listen to our buddy. What's his name? Micah.
Adam Johnson.
Yeah. He's all about subject to. Oh, you would love those episodes.
Oh, nice. What's his name? Adam Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in Pace Morby's stuff. I love all his stuff, but the thing about Pace, he loves to tell a story, and it's just like all over the place. And I'm like, can someone just tell me like A to Z? This is how you do it. I just want to watch one YouTube. I don't want to watch 20 hours of YouTube. So that is my frustration.
Yeah, that we're really, me and my wife are really bullish on sub 2 right now too. Like just learning the process. Yeah, because it's like you just have to list what do we need to sign so I can just take over this mortgage so this guy doesn't get free. So yeah, we're real bullish on it right now too. Now, have you been looking at maybe sub 2ing pre-foreclosures?
No, I don't know. Seems a little bit complicated. I mean, what we have done is like, I've got somebody on my team who calls expireds. And so it's hard to know if they're like in a weird spot, but I think it's just like the market shifted so fast where it was like, places were under contract in 3 days and now they're sitting almost 3 months. And so people are stuck on this price. They're like, I just want my high price. And so if we can still give them their high price, but now we've got all these cool terms, it can be a win-win. It's great. It's just, it still feels a little confusing. And that's the part that's hard, is that you have to explain why it makes sense for somebody. And they are usually a little sketched out about it.
I know a lot of people, they always tell the seller, hey, speak to your CPA. And usually a CPA will give them a good guidance of like, hey, this is what you're going to get with it being this price for this amount of time. I'm bullish on it too. Like sub 2's the way, especially right now, interest rates are high. Get a 3% mortgage takeover.
And like Zeona said, the best way to convince somebody is say, hey, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do with this thing?
Oh my God. It's so funny because you are like my co-host. Like everything's going well. And then you make a stupid dad joke.
It's not stupid.
Bad joke.
I'll tell you something.
Bad joke.
Okay, so I have a pool, right? There's a pool dude that takes care of the pool, right? This pool guy, he comes in. I pay him by check. He wants to be paid by check. I don't know, it's an IRS thing. Anyway, so I leave it on the grill, and because I'm not here whenever he gets his check. So the other day, he went to get the check out of the grill, right? And the dumbass turned on the grill and burned up the check. The worst part of it is that I'm gonna go to jail now for writing a hot check.
No. So again, that you should cut out.
Oh, come on.
I thought I'm a hater. I'm a hater.
I thought about no, don't hate. I thought about putting it on the trampoline though, but I was afraid it was gonna bounce.
Funny. That was better. That was cute.
No, come on. No crickets. God.
That's a bad joke.
It's fine. There are people out there listening, laughing right now. I know they're there somewhere.
I can hear them in my head at night. I can hear them. My own audience. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. We're gonna end it on. No, we're not gonna end it yet. I want to know one more question. Why did you compliment Micah's hair and not mine? I mean, mine's
your hair actually looks really great too. I know. It's just like I think I was like fixing all my stuff. I came on the show and then I saw Micah and I was like, dang, he looks great. But then I was like, oh yeah, your hair looks great too. Look at that.
Pepper going on.
Little swoopy. I don't know what you call that.
I don't know.
Nice. Guys, if you're not watching on YouTube, you need to change that immediately. You need to go see these guys' hair.
Yeah. Guys too.
True.
It's a different world. Okay. Where can people find you, Zeona?
All right. Gosh, I'm in all the places. I think the easiest one, go get our book, biggerpockets.com/30-day stay. Instagram, Zeona McIntyre, and then check out my podcast, Invest #25, so Investify. It's a good show.
Investify. Oh, now I get it. Like testify, Investify. Okay.
Yeah, for us, it's like using real estate investing to get to financial independence. That's our whole deal. It's great.
I dig it. I dig it. Any more questions for the queen of midterm rentals? Yeah, that's your title now.
That is it, Zeona. Thank you for coming on. I think this is your third. Y'all could say second, but I'm pretty sure third. I'm going to find all 3 episodes and DM both of you. But yeah, thank y'all for coming on, and thank you for coming on, and continued success coming your way. Keep on grinding and keep being an inspiration and all that.
Thank you guys. This was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Adios. Bye, Zeona.
Bye.
Yeah. All right. Another episode in the bag. Episode what, Stevie Stacks?
231.
231. Let's go. Man, that was a really good episode.
She always brings it, dude. She's so cool, man. She's just so laid back. And then she's just dropping freaking lefts and right and uppercuts and just holy smokes. I didn't even think about that. But to her, it's just like, I just did this and no big deal. You know what I'm saying? But us is like, holy crap, this is awesome, man. The stuff that she's telling us. Omaha. Who would have thought of Omaha, you know?
And I want to, no. You know what? We have a fan in Omaha who came on the podcast who does the big ass houses up there. Remember?
Yes.
To the people that come in, like you were saying, from Buffett stuff. That's how he was making his big money.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a great show. This was a great show. Zeona, she's been on Bigger Pockets. She's been on our show, and then a bunch of other shows. But the main 2 in the whole world is us and Bigger Pockets, right?
Oh, the main ones.
The main ones, man. So we love having her on. Get her book, 30-day stay on Bigger Pockets, whatever you order it from there or Amazon. And thank y'all for listening. We are live let thrive at gmail.com, liveletthrive.com. Argest Rentals, my company, ARGEST Rentals. Hit me up. Micah's got a company too.
Yeah. Thank y'all. First off, thank y'all for continuing to listen. Find us live let thrive, gmail.com. Follow us on Live Let Thrive on Instagram. Leave a like and please subscribe. Leave us a review. We'll shout you out. And if you have any ugly houses out there, Auntie's house, whoever's house, ugly house, hit me up. We will definitely take a look at it. If you're on Instagram, hit up Mahogany, send it to her, and we'll see what we can do. Other than that, we are out. Peace. Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.